the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, Real Truth listeners. Today I have Rick Warren, real estate broker, personal development geek, business coach, a little jack of all trades. Thank you, Rick, for being here today.
Vinny, this is exciting, dude. That is the best intro. It got me pumped up. You got my blood going. I'm all, I do a bunch of podcasts. So that is the best one I've been on so far.
Oh, I appreciate it. No, I get that feedback of the excitement. And I probably got to get better, get a little more excitement before we get on the podcast, but it's nice to kind of get that blood flowing before we go there.
Yeah. Sure.
So I appreciate that. So Rick, let's talk about you. How
my
do you
subject?
Well, come on, people listening, right? They're like, "Oh, he's a realtor. Of course, that's his favorite subject." Talking about
right. Oh my gosh, sure, yeah.
So how do you describe yourself? I mean, being that you wear multiple hats, I know they're all kind of in the real estate kind of field, kind of sphere.
Yeah, right.
But how do you best describe yourself?
Well, it's funny because we were talking before we went on, and yes, of course, I totally love talking about myself. But at the same time, where my passion is around sharing that below the waterline part, right? That the struggle and all the things. So how I would describe myself is I am a successful agent. That happens to be true. That is not what I'm here to talk about, nor am I here to talk about, whatever that was. To me, my passion and the other things that I do when you go jack of all trades is I really, really love helping people get unstuck. And so it happens to be that sometimes I get paid for that in the coaching world. But I spend a ton of time with people just in a non-monetary way, just helping them get unstuck. And the way I do that is sharing my own experience of being stuck and all my failures and all my challenges and going, listen, hopefully my message is no matter where you are, there's an opportunity to not be there anymore. And there's so many things that go behind that. But I guess that's how I describe myself. Did I go on and on too much with that?
No, you're fine. So, I mean, if let's say do you have an elevator pitch? Would your elevator pitch be to get people unstuck? Because you can kind of veer that towards the real estate, unstuck of the house is too small, unstuck of being a renter their whole life. Or is that just something that more of like a deep conversation when you talk to people?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I've ever used it in the real estate context. So maybe I should start doing that. But no, I'm talking more about just that, like most people are grappling with something, right? Mm-hmm. Some more than others. Some tend to get stuck in, places maybe more quickly. But for the most part, I feel like most people are coming from some place, whether it's emotional or financial, or maybe it's their business, whatever it is, where they're plateauing, right? Maybe it's their relationship. And it's like, I guess this is just the way it is. There's this resignation to, well, this is the best it's going to be. And, I'm just here I want to tell as many people as possible, it's just not true. Like whatever limits you have are usually, self-inflicted. And it's finding out, well, where is the self-infliction and what are the things that are keeping me from being that great person that I really believe is inside of everybody.
Let's talk about young Rick. Did young Rick have this kind of mindset of getting through the struggle, kind of being, who's young Rick? No.
Right. So young Rick did not. Young Rick was struggled, man. I mean, high school was a struggle for me. I was one of those kids who the learning environment, the way it's designed, it was not designed for a kid like me. And so, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And so it was, there wasn't a lot of discussion about that. So it was more like you either fit in or you just felt bad about not fitting in. Right. And so there may have been some learning challenges for me. There may be ADD, whatever, one way or the other. It was just a bad experience for me. And what that left me feeling like was, I'm not enough. And in fact, I remember my report cards always said Ricky, because I went by Ricky when I was younger. Ricky has such potential, but he doesn't use it. And that was a constant, report card for me. And basically the way I was taking that was, you're not enough. Like you could be so much better and you're just not. And while that could be, there could be a positive spin of that, I didn't take it as positive. I took it as, you're not enough. And so, I kind of lived in that world for a while.
So, I mean, being not enough. I mean, where did that push you? What did that? I know some people, it drives them because they want to basically push against that. Other people, it basically pushes them down. I mean, where did that put you?
Yeah, I was more the pushes me down guy. I totally get what you're saying. There are those people like, oh yeah, I'm going to show you, right? Yeah. And I've come across those people as well. And I've even have experiences in my life where I'm going to show you guy. But for me, one way or the other, it just kind of pushed me towards, well, I want to be super clear. I'm not a victim of anything, but one way or the other, the solution, once I started, I used drugs for the first time around 15 or 16. And that was a really great solution for me to just not feel anything. I didn't see that at the time. This was like, hey, this is fun. But sooner or later, it wasn't really fun as much as it was medicinal. And that landed me at the age of 20, where I, was living in a tool shed, basically homeless, and going, wait, how did this happen? Like my whole existence became around just getting high. And so that was my first experience with adversity and feeling like I'm totally stuck. And, it was from that point, that was my first like experience with, I'm not stuck with who I am. Actually, I don't have to live this way if I don't want to. And that was by virtue of meeting some people that had already been where I was, and they weren't there anymore. And they're like, just come with us, do what we do, go where we go. And you'll get what we have, which is a way to live your life without getting high every day and getting drunk every day. And it'll be great. And, that was a huge, huge crossroads and transformation for me.
How long were you homeless for?
So I was homeless for a month when I went and got help. And then I was homeless for another 10 months at the beginning of my sobriety. So all in, it was 11 months.
So what was the catalyst that pushed you to get help?
Well, it's a good question because, my life had become so normal for me in the kind of these immersion and homelessness and being a drug addict and all this stuff that was in my normal life. I had very little grasp of reality. And luckily I had this one not so good night. I'd been up for a few days. I was, my heart was pounding out of my chest. I'd ingested too many chemicals and alcohol in my body. And I had this little moment of clarity where I could see my life for what it really was versus the conjured up version. What I had made it sound like this kind of glamorous lifestyle that I was living. And I could see it for what it really was. And I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? And I don't think I'm going to make it through the night. I really thought I'd OD'd and I was going to die. And so that was the catalyst, and for me, and the other thing that happens important for me to mention was I'm not a religious guy. Definitely wasn't a God guy, but that night I'm like, God help me, like just a total desperate cry for something that I didn't even believe in. And where I went into a 12-step program, the whole objective of that was to create a relationship with a power greater than myself. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work for me because that doesn't exist. And long before I completed the steps, I had this not religious experience, but certainly spiritual experience where all of a sudden I had this connection with this, power of the universe, call it God, whatever you want. That was the, again, foundation for what was to come ahead for me.
So it was, I guess, a brush with death, I guess, that was the thing that kind of pushed you.
Probably a little more dramatic than, I make it sound like that because at the time I felt like that. I don't know that I was actually on the verge of actually, it just felt like that. So I don't know if it counts or not. It's not like what the kids deal with these days as much, that was 33 years ago, but yeah, absolutely. I was terrified of what was happening. The other thing too, that was a bummer, and maybe some people can relate to this, even if you're not a drug addict or alcoholic, is, here I am with basically this habit, right, of this behavior. And that wasn't the first night where I was like, man, I would really love to stop doing this. But I couldn't seem to just change my behavior. That I kind of had this sense even that night of like, yeah, you can be as scared as you want, but if you actually don't die tonight and you wake up, what are the chances you're actually going to do something different tomorrow? Because there was a lot of tomorrows. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this tomorrow. And tomorrow never came for the longest time. And so that's the other thing I, just want to make sure that people, whoever's listening, is tomorrow can be today, right? And things actually can change like right now. It's, that for me, that's what happened. And that was, like I said, 33 years ago, and I haven't done any drugs or alcohol since that day.
So you had multiple moments where it was, okay, what am I doing? And then kind of relapse and then relapse. And then this was like the epitome of it. And then it kind of,
I don't even think I could count it as a relapse, to be honest. I never even made it into a point where I was able to stay clean. I had this one window on my 20th birthday where I lasted like a week clean. It was miserable for everybody around me because I had untreated alcoholism. My deal was that I did not know how to deal with life on life's terms. And so as life hit me, for me, the easy way out was to just get high or drunk. And so, what I've been having to do for the last 33 years is figure out, okay, how do I, as life happens for me, no worse or better than everybody else, how do I learn how to navigate that? And so that has really been my passion for the last 33 years.
So it sounds like you pushed away from that negative, right?
Yeah.
That kind of what drove you to this day. Then do you push away towards a negative or go towards a pleasure of something bigger than you?
Right. No, that's a great question. So it's definitely not about, in fact, what for me, once I took away the drugs and alcohol, all that did, because that was just a symptom. The real challenge was, how do I deal with life on life's terms, right? How do I deal with this place where I'm kind of left with a guy, to be honest, with my, without a connection and doing the right things, I tend to drift towards selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I let these things kind of rule my world. And so what it's been for me is like, how do I go towards the opposite of those things, where I'm, living in a world of love and tolerance and understanding of other people, and a place of sacrifice and service and helping others, because within those things, that is where the good stuff is, right? Being able to help other people and share your experience. It's like magic. It's better than anything else you can imagine, including financial success, which I've had plenty of financial success. It does not compare to being able to make a difference in somebody's lives and sharing your experience from your past.
So is that what happens, like in the low moments or hiccups, that you basically soak in kind of the moments of success where you might help someone or push someone to the next level? Is that kind of what happens for you?
Yeah, I would say that for me, I've had financial success and not have the feel good in that moment. So there's nothing wrong with financial success.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I'm always constantly seeking it, but it's never going to be the solution. It's never going to be the thing that makes me feel good. So I can tell you that multiple times within all this kind of exterior success, that I haven't had that internal feel good. And for me, it's an absolute practice that I will selfishly go out and find people that I can help so that I actually feel better. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's such a good feeling to make an impact on somebody else and to be able to listen to them and share with your experience about, how they don't have to be stuck. And, for me, it's gone on many more layers of personal development. One of the things I call myself is a personal development geek. I'm always looking for and practicing and putting into place books and seminars and other things where I can not only get better for myself, but also, again, help other people.
So from that point of kind of getting back on the right track, how long did it take you to get into the real estate field?
So let's see, probably maybe 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a while. I didn't get into real estate till then, but I think the next story that would be interesting to your listeners, especially if you've got entrepreneurs that listen or other agents, if that happens to be on, if they're on there, is in 2000. When did you get into business?
It's 2020. No, 2010.
2010. Okay, so you came in, right. Okay, great. So you came in when things were not great. They'd already been not great for a while. I got licensed in 2004, so a few years before that. I was in there long enough to have some success and think, okay, I kind of got this thing. And then September 2008 happened, and all hell broke loose in the world. and especially real estate. So even if you're just a regular civilian, non-real estate person, your real estate asset went way down, 35, 40%, some people even more than that. But I was in the business as well. So my overall business went to almost nothing. I sell between 22 and $25 million worth of real estate now per year. In 2009, I sold $2.7 million worth of real estate. So 1/10 of the business that I do now, right? And so it was bad. And so on my 40th birthday, literally 20 years later from when I first got sober, almost to the month, I couldn't pay my mortgage. And so here I am. I had some success. I bought $1 million house. I got 3 little kids. I got a stay-at-home wife. On the exterior, it looks great. And but as it turns out, it wasn't. And not being able to pay my mortgage and being faced with that, like there was no place for me to turn. My nut was way too high. I couldn't borrow money from anybody to get by. I'm like, what am I going to do here? And so once again, I got to that place of kind of desperation. I reached out for help. I went to a coaching group. It's actually Keller Williams, the company you work for now, had a program called Bold. And dude, that thing really was a game changer for me. It was 8 Mondays. It was 8 hours a day for 8 Mondays. And I really needed to learn how to step out of my comfort zone and do things differently. And, and it was kind of one of my first experiences, or maybe one of my first identified experiences with what I call, the working edge. The working edge is that place that is, an emotional, uncomfortable place to go, where we kind of naturally go, wait, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that. And that kind of, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that, keeps us small. And we all have working edges. Everybody, it doesn't matter how much work you've done. Everybody has these places where you don't want to go. It could be social anxiety. It could be making cold calls. It could be, asking a bank for money. It could be, within your relationship, not communicating with your partner. It could be how you parent, whatever it is. There's all these places. And as it turns out, those working edges are where the gold is, right? So if you can lean into those things and go beyond your initial reaction of like, this is uncomfortable, and get to the other side of that by just facing it and having those feelings, your world can get bigger and bigger. And that is exactly what happened for me in that spot. So just like what happened in 1989, again in 2009, my life is so much better because I had these challenges. And I had those working edges to lean into. I wouldn't be doing the kind of business I'm doing today had I not had that struggle.
So the first one that you went through, kind of communal support, Bold, I guess communal support. I mean, do you find those are, when you're cleaning up those edges, like kind of talked about, that communal support is kind of what you require?
Communal support, as in, you mean other people, right?
Yeah. Like you had like the AA thing probably when you're getting to the drugs, and then you had the Bold kind of community, I guess.
Yeah.
100%
that to me, I cannot think myself out of a paper bag. Like on my own, I have plenty of great ideas that I can share with other people, put me in my own struggle, and I'm limited by my own working edges, for example. So being within a group, and in fact, that's, we have a coaching group now, and that's the centerpiece of that is collaboration, accountability. There needs to be people that have already done what you're doing, and they're your leader, they're your coach, they're your mentor, whatever. And then I think what's equally important, and this is the formula of a 12-step program as well, which has just worked so well, is that you need to have somebody that you're mentoring, right? That you're coaching, that you're kind of bringing along, and that you're being an example for them, along with your peers that are like, you're kind of hand in hand on the same battlefield. So to me, an accountability group and the communal, thing that you're talking about, it should be made up of, kind of all three of those types of people. The people that are ahead of you, that have already had success, that you're looking up to, that you want to be like, that you can follow, as long as the people with you, and then the people that you are leading and leading by example.
How do you, for people listening, and I know you have your platform, and just in general, how do you know you have the right people that you're kind of with, I guess, the communal support? How do you know that those are the people that you want to actually listen to and have those people in your corner?
I think the simple answer is, do they have what you want, right? Is their life the life that you're going towards, right? Whether that's financial or emotional, it doesn't have to be money, right? If you really want to be super tied in with your significant other, are you hanging out with people who are super tied in with their significant other, that they're looking for what's great in their relationship and constantly complimenting the other person in their world, or acknowledging their own challenges and what they're working towards, as an example. So I think it's really, do you want what they have?
Well, and then the other side of the spectrum, let's say someone's listening right now and they feel that they have information to provide and they want to basically coach people. I mean, what were some of the steps that you took to build this platform that they could take to kind of build their own platform, maybe even a different sector?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, you have to, there has to be some kind of attraction that you've created. And so it's organic. It's not kind of made. And what do they say? A leader without any followers is just somebody taking a walk, right? So there needs to be something that you're doing that people are attracted to. And to me, that starts first by being led. And then there's the opportunity within that community to also be a leader. Does that answer your question?
Gotcha. Just basically make sure people want to basically follow you before you.
Yeah, I mean, if you've done nothing worth leading, you don't really have that opportunity yet, right? Yeah.
Well, so in the real estate, I mean, coaching, I mean, where do you see yourself, if we're talking in 5 years from now, where do you see yourself going?
So 5 years from now, what my life is going to look like, it will be completely location independent. So yes, I'm a real estate agent, but my team or my success around my team will be such that I'm not tied to any particular community, that most of my time will be spending time being on podcasts, doing podcasts, coaching other people, whether it's live, individual, speaking and training, and just doing what I love to do. I mean, my passion is to be in front of people and figuring out, where's your struggle, what's going on, how can I fill in the gap to get you to the place where you're no longer stuck. So that'll be 90% of my time, and it will be in the places, living in the places that I want to be when I want to be there. So I might be in Washington DC for 3 or 4 months during the Cherry Blossom Festival, and I might be in Miami during the winter, and I might be in Italy, during the summer.
Is your business currently, at least your real estate business, kind of self-funded? I mean, because most realtors work in the business instead of on the business, and they're never actually building a company. I mean, so is your company right now self-supported? Do you need to be there?
I need to know. So now you said 5 years, and then I said I will be, right. So okay. that was a self-affirmation. I am not there right now. So my business, gotcha. I am on my way to that point. I have some key employees and people that we're building them into a spot where I can be around less and less. I still will be back to, to hold important meetings and so forth and continue to create the relationships. But the way we coach people is to really get to the point where the very first step of being kind of location independent is to get them where they're getting rid of all the things that they really shouldn't be doing, right? The $20 an hour job stuff, so that they're focusing really on 3 things. Number 1 is creating and cultivating relationships. Number 2 is negotiating deals. And then number 3 is just managing their team. And so for a lot of people, there is no team. And so then the team, all of the other things fall under that category. Returning emails, scheduling appointments, writing up listing agreements and sales contracts. All that stuff should be farmed out. All your marketing stuff should be farmed out, all of that. And so that's where my business is at. So I do just basically create relationships and negotiate deals right now. And then over the next 2 years, I will be even funneling those 2 things out of my business. So I'm managing somebody who can even do those things for me.
Gotcha. That's what do you think is going to be the hardest one to walk away from?
Well, first of all, I love doing both of them. So I think just emotionally, it's going to be hard because that's the part that I really, really love to do. And it's so great to have built a business where I really only have to do those things. So I told you how much I produce. I generally also don't work nights and I don't work weekends. So I've really created this business that I really can enjoy and sustain. I take tons of time off, and I'm very, very fortunate, along with having this coaching business. I think, I don't know the answer to the question because I haven't done it yet. So I have to surround myself, and this is what I'm in the process of doing, exactly what I coach people doing. I'm surrounding myself with people who have done it, right? Who are are out there and are no longer, they've kind of figured themselves out of the business. That's my next step.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Rick, for being on the Road to Earth podcast. If people are listening and want to get more information about either working with you, working on your team, doing the coaching, either maybe hiring you as a realtor, what's the best way of getting more information?
So, the Rick Warner is my Instagram, and then our coaching company is flowcademy.com, FLOCADEMY.com.
And I'm just going to finish off one last question. If you could talk to your younger self, the one that was just getting to rehab, what kind of words of wisdom would you give that person?
Okay, I'm going to try not to be emotional here because I was on a podcast a few days ago. They asked me the same exact question, and I was taken off guard. But it would be, I would tell myself that you are loved and you are already enough, that you're perfect exactly the way that you are. And you got this, man. You got a gigantic future ahead of you and you do not have to worry.
Thank you so much, Rick, for being here. Hopefully everyone listening got some great nuggets right now. It doesn't matter where you were, it just matters where you are and where you're going. Thank you guys. Please subscribe, please share, and go in the show notes and go find Rick. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.